Guys, the video that I'm about to make for you is going to be a testament as to what you're going to have to endure if you choose to work for Tartar Industries or Green River Gate, that is basically owned by Tartar Industries. I want to start this video out by telling you guys that I've worked for Tartar Industries for going on about 2 years now. When I first got hired on, it was a fairly pleasant job. The pay sucked, I'll tell you that honestly. We were hired on, my son and I both, for $11 an hour. And the job should have paid a hell of a lot more than $11 an hour. Sadly enough, a job is better than no job, okay? We can all agree on that. And there's only so many jobs out there that a high school dropout is typically going to be able to get, okay? And as you can imagine, I am a high school dropout. So I am, needless to say, no stranger to work, okay? Let's just put it that way. I worked very hard, and I worked in the paint room along with my son. We were subjected to breathing all kinds of harsh chemicals. Xylene, galvanized spray paint, even paint thinner, because we would have to dump the barrels into the tanks along with the paint. So needless to say, we were constantly breathing these fumes. And I know what potentially a lot of you guys might ask. They didn't have any ventilation, any adequate ventilation, and the truth of the matter is, no, they really didn't. We had fans, and the fans were tore up long before we even arrived there. My supervisor, Glenn Edwards, tried every way in the world to get those fans repaired by Tartar. For whatever reason, it was always neglected. The safety guy would neglect it, the old one, as well as actually the new one, okay? Now, bear in mind that we actually did request 2 floor fans as well. Trying to meet them halfway. We know that, it can be pretty costly to get the ceiling fans repaired, okay, if you will, or the ventilation fans, shall we say. But needless to say, they wouldn't even accommodate us with the floor fans. We did have some smaller oscillating fans. Well, they're not really oscillating. They were just all stationary, but fairly decent sized fans. But they were basically to keep us cool. As you can imagine, it would get pretty hot where we worked at. It wasn't air conditioned, let's just put it that way. We constantly were cleaning up messes that we knew would definitely be violations, okay, for the EPA, as well as really even your health standards, okay, OSHA, if you will, okay. We knew that these would definitely be an issue, but to reiterate, there's only so many jobs that a high school dropout can actually get, okay. So we wasn't going to stir in shit, so to speak. To be completely honest with you, I was grateful to have a job, especially in light of what I'm about to mention to you. As I went through my first year, I was subjected to breathing all these chemicals, all the spray paint, everything that was previously mentioned. And ironically enough, I can't say that this attributed, okay, to my stroke that I had, but I had a stroke, and it weakened me quite a bit. It really did. It affected me in such a way that I lost basically all my strength in my arm, my neck. It slurred my speech. It made my memory a little fuzzy, but I was determined to go back to work as soon as I could. As you can imagine, the bills piled up. Insurance, it was a joke. I couldn't really even afford insurance, truth be told. So needless to say, I had to work. So I never questioned the $11 an hour. Like I said, I was grateful for it. And later I even got $11.50. Ronnie gave me a raise, and I was grateful for that. I still am, to be honest with you. That really helped out when it come to the gas, going to the physical rehabilitation, if you will. So Ronnie Warner was actually pretty nice to me, and I have no complaints with him. I really don't have any complaints at all with the people that I work with. They were genuinely nice people, and I'm seriously going to miss them. You know, when you work beside people like I have, you kind of get attached to them, truth be told. But I'm going to enlighten you guys as to my experience. I basically was fired because of lack of attendance. Now, bear in mind, I had many doctor's excuses. And to be completely honest, Ronnie knew my situation. He knew that I wasn't lying when I would call in and tell him that I was feeling sick, because honestly, I do have high blood pressure. I do have diabetes. This plays a major role, okay, in what I am actually able to do. A lot of times I feel extremely sick. A good example is like today, I'm not going to lie. I got up this morning, I threw up about 3 or 4 times. I try to get my sugar under control, but like I said, without insurance, I'm basically feeding my money to a doctor. And their interest isn't really to help me, it's to ensure that I keep coming back. And we all know that. Anybody that's went to a doctor, you know how they make their money. But I digress. Moving along. I have been in this situation for the last couple of days as to whether or not I potentially even wanted to make a video. But I feel like I really should, because I had worked for that company for over 2 years and worked very hard. My work ethic was never questioned. To this very day, I don't think they could question my work ethic, because even when I was sick, I would come back the next day or the day after, and if there was any gates, any at all, okay, that had been stockpiled, and yes, you heard me right, were stockpiled, my son and I both would hit them hard and get them out, okay? We knew that that was more or less our obligation, as well as our job, really. But to be honest, I'm also kind of very stern about getting work done, okay? I don't believe in procrastination, let's put it that way. I believe that if you got a job to do, you should do it. That's what you're hired for. But anyway, we would get all the gates done, loaded on the line. We bring the barrels in, fill up the paint tank. Like I said, sometimes, many times, okay, we would use bar saw. But there are those rare exceptions, okay, that I don't think Tartar is really going to want to admit. And that's the fact that we, okay, had to actually skim those tanks out after the weekend and take that skin, okay, from the paint and put it in totes. There was really no other way to get rid of it other than burn it. Now, in the time I was there, we never really burnt paint per se, okay, this skimmed paint. But we did place it in many, many totes and apply sawdust to it, as well as just about anything we could stick in those totes. And there's proof of that on the line in the prior video. We knew it was wrong. All of us did. But that's what Ronnie wanted us to do. Or I should say, that's what Tartar wanted Ronnie to do. Okay? That was how we were supposed to dispose of the paint. There was plastics and cardboard boxes that we burnt just about every morning at the end of the line in barrels, paint barrels, be minded. Okay, now that was a definite no-no. We knew that, but there really wasn't no other way to dispose of them. And as you can imagine, that plastic that we covered the tanks over with, it would accumulate and it would get nasty because of the paint that would actually adhere itself to it as basically the plastic rested. Basically on top of galvanized pipe, okay, that we would lay across the paint tanks. And then when it would settle, of course, naturally you would get a film on the bottom of the plastic. So my supervisor, like I said, didn't have no other way of disposing of it. So he took the plastic along with cardboard, like I said, from boxes that the welding wire come in, and he would burn it at the end of the line. Basically just trying to appease Carter, okay? And we knew that that was a definite no-no. But like I said, we had to do it. It would accumulated to the point to where we couldn't have got rid of it. And that's the simple truth of the matter. In the prior video, you're going to see that there was many safety violations that occurred while we were employed there. One of which is the rafters, okay, that supported the steel I-beams that we use typically for the trolleys to carry the gates down the line. Those I-beams that were made out of wood were just nailed. They were never bolted at all. In some places down the line they actually used bolts from the gates, okay, to affix them to the rafters, and they broke out, as you can imagine. And we definitely took video of that too. My son actually has that video on his camera. And we will be subjecting that, or submitting that, shall we say, to the EPA, as well as OSHA, really any social media platform that we can get our hands on. We're going to expose it if we don't get our unemployment. The reason that I feel I'm entitled to my unemployment is because for 2 years I suffered, I endured, I persevered, if you want to say that, and I made my way through all the bullshit, day in and day out, same old crap. But I needed a job. I was sick. I had to have some form of income coming in. I basically abused my body to the point to where I got gradually sicker, and I had to go to the doctors. There at the end, sadly enough, to reiterate, I didn't really have any insurance, so I couldn't afford it. So it made it more and more difficult to go to the doctor. A lot of times I had to stay home and just rest, and that is the God honest truth. I really had to. I always felt bad about it. I really did. I'd come back in the next day. I'd explain my situation. Ronnie was very understanding. He knew that I was telling the truth. He knew I wasn't trying to manipulate anybody. He knew my work ethic. He knew I was a good worker, as well as my son. My son, typically, he would watch after me, and I'll explain what I mean by that. There were a few mornings I would go to work, or try to go to work, and I'd be so sick and so dizzy, I could barely drive. As a matter of fact, Patty can attest to this. I actually called her a few times, asking her to get a hold of Justin because he was already there to come and pick me up. I was too dizzy to drive. I was too sick. And Justin would have to come and get me and take me to my mom's just so I'd be able to lay down, just to get a little rest, or to even go to the doctor for that matter. I, as you can imagine, I'm very hurt by all this. I would truly have never expected to get fired. Um, I had impeccable work ethic. It was just tardies, or absentees, if you will, that ultimately screwed me in the end. And I know some things that I actually shouldn't know about that situation. I know that Ronnie Warner was confronted a couple of days before our termination and was told to actually trim the fat. I I know this to be the truth because of who told me, okay? I also know that Ronnie said as a reply to this individual that said this, "What fat? There's none to trim," okay? So it basically lets me know that they were gunning for any excuse they could possibly make to screw me and my son out of a job. Sadly enough, in the same week, there was a welder that was hired who done an excellent job. There was no issues with his welding whatsoever. He was just new. He was learning. And they fired him. And for what reason, I have no idea. I was told that there wasn't funding. I believe that about like taking a shit, but I'll digress there as well. I had touched on this a little earlier because there's so much that I want to say in this video. But the line suffered significant problems. The rafters were pulling apart. You can actually see the nails in the prior video where it's pulling apart. They actually had chains suspended from the top rafters to support the steel I-beams, okay, for the trolley system. I show that in the video as well. There are exposed wires that controlled the wand, the paint wand that we used. That can be evidently seen, okay, if you watch the prior video. There were cans of paint that we were supposed to flatten every day, and we did, okay? For the most part, we did. Let's say that. And the contents of that paint was supposed to make its way into a barrel. Howsoever, the extractor that we used for the paint, it had some major malfunctions. We tried to cope with it, but in honesty, there was always leakage, and there was a bucket that was put underneath the barrel for this leakage. That bucket was probably, when we were terminated, it was half full of galvanized paint. I have no idea how they're going to dispose of that paint. I really don't. I can tell you this, though. In the time that we were there, and this is the major no-no that I really wanted to address in this video. Ronnie Warner had us go out back, my son and I both, and where the edge of the bank was, that's just more or less next to the double doors where they kept a dumpster, we also housed our paint barrels. And those paint barrels basically leached oil into that gravel. In turn, that gravel was so close to the edge of the bank, as you can imagine, the paint made its way down into the water. I know this to be a fact because my son and I were obligated to take the shovels and cover it up, because Ronnie feared that if the EPA caught word of it, okay, they'd shut everybody down. And they likely would, okay, truth be told, they likely would. So we contended with it, but there's still evidence, okay, of it. It was covered up. It wasn't properly disposed of. Just covered up, be minded. I also know that in the bending shop, where when I came back after my stroke and Ronnie had put me on light duty, we had a machine, or actually two machines down there, that bent the pipe that took fluids. Those fluids were constantly leaking on the floor. And I don't mean little puddles either, guys. I'm talking massive puddles. Honestly, in a day's time, you could get, I would dare say, a gallon and a half poured all over the floor in a day's time. Okay? You can imagine after a week just how much that would add up. Ronnie would have us take sawdust and cast it over that fluid and shovel it up and put it in barrels. And that's the truth. I know that he was doing it basically to ensure that the EPA didn't catch wind or light of that as well. To reiterate, I think Ronnie's a good person. I don't think that he was deliberately trying to do anything to screw us or him or anyone else, okay? But I know it was wrong, and that's the reason why I'm addressing this in this video, okay? Some people would say, you know, what I'm doing is kind of two-faced as hell, and to be honest, I actually feel like it is in some ways. These people were good to me, and I do feel bad about blowing the whistle on everything. But I also feel bad about getting screwed over out of my job because Ronnie had to trim the fat, or was obligated to trim the fat, rather. I truly don't believe with all my heart that Ronnie Warner really wanted to fire me or my son in any way. I think the pressure came from corporate. I do believe him when he told me that, because him and Toby both told Justin, as well as myself, that they basically screwed them, okay? Because he knew that when we left, there'd be nobody to work that paint line. Preston's an elderly guy. He does work hard. I'm not trying to imply anything that, you know, would be out of character. But honestly, he's kind of elderly, and it's hard on him. It really is, to pull that line. I can only imagine what he's enduring now, trying to sling the gates up on the hooks and pull them down, as well as paint. And God help me. I just can't imagine the hell that he's going through, truthfully. I'm assuming that perhaps maybe Miriam's there to help him, maybe Morena. I really don't know, guys. I'll be honest. The last time I was at Green River Gate, I was picking up a phone charger, a couple of clothes that my son and I had left back in the winter, sweaters and whatnot, a cooler that I always religiously kept water and pop and basically anything, okay, to quench your thirst. I kept it for everybody. It was a kindness that I tried to provide to everybody as well. Like I said, these people were more than just fellow employees. They were friends. They really were. And I looked after them. The same as really they looked after us. Especially me. They knew that I was legit. I was telling the truth about all my medical issues. That's why it breaks my heart to blow the whistle the way that I am right now. I really hope that when I go and apply for my unemployment, that I get it. That I don't get the bullshit of you miss too many days and you know our policies, because we all know how that shit works. We really do. And that's just basically a way to screw the little man, really. But the people that know me know that I was telling the truth. Ronnie Warner even sent me home. There was a few days he even sent me and Justin both home because I was sick. And that's the truth. So you can imagine how all this is plaguing my heart and how I feel right now. And even how angry I might be. I wouldn't go really as far as saying I'm angry. I'm hurt by the fact that I lost my job in the manner at which I did. I'd given so much of myself to that company, guys. I really did. And at the end, I only made $11.50 after 2 years. And I worked hard every day. I really did. Every day with the exceptions of a few that was missed. And when I say few, I mean very few. I'm sure on Tartar's end they'll make it seem more dramatic, but what do you expect? That's what I want you guys to be aware of if you're seeking employment with Tartar Industries. They really are crooked. They don't care about you as a person whatsoever. They really don't. They'll use you, and then they'll throw you away. If you look into the company, you'll find that they're predominantly Mexican. I'm not trying to be racist when I say that either. Take a look for yourself. Walk into any department and see how many Mexicans are actually working compared to white people, Native American, black, you name it, okay? You will see that more Mexicans work for Tartar. I also know, I probably shouldn't admit this either, but I also know that a lot of the Mexicans that work for Tartar have ironically got the same Social Security number. And they've tried to even provide the same Social Security number. That's a red flag, ain't it? Don't tell me how I know that, guys. I'll just tell you that it's a fact, okay? Like I said, I know more about Tartars than what you might typically think. But I'll digress upon that as well. And I'll just say that the things that my son and I endured, seriously, you don't want that. You don't want to be a part of that. Not for $11 an hour. And that's typically what they want to hire you for. At least at Green River Gate, that's what they want to hire you for. Now I know, like I said, I did make $11.50 there at the end. And I think my son made $12 because he had went back a little earlier than I did in light of the stroke that I talked about. But still, if you've seen the type of labor that we were subjected to and what was expected of us, there's no way in hell a rational person would want that job for $11 or $11.50 an hour. I was just a victim of circumstance. I was a grateful victim of circumstance. Because like I said, there's not very many jobs out there for a high school dropout. I don't know, seriously, what's going to come of all this. I really don't. I know that sincerely, if I don't get my unemployment, I swear to this, I will take the videos that my son and I both have, and there's a total of 5. Yeah, there's 5. That 6th one, we decided we wasn't going to basically use it. There's too many people that it would affect, and I don't have the heart to do it. I really don't. But anyway, there's 5 that we are going to send to the EPA, as well as OSHA. I'm going to make sure that Tartar is aware of these videos. If they deny me my unemployment, because honestly, I feel like I am entitled to it. I really do. I know that's pretty presumptuous of me, but like I said, I worked hard those 2 years. I really did. And I don't think that the way my son and I was treated there at the end was fair in any way, shape, matter, or form. It was just wrong. We worked the entire day. Well, let me make a retraction on that. The last day that we worked till 11:30, and sadly enough, we were told by Glenn to meet Ronnie at the office, and he had something he needed to tell us. We didn't think much of it. Like I said, we were all really friends. We didn't really, think anything was out of sorts. But we approached the office, and of course Patty's in there. The time clock got me, which is another issue that I wish Tartar would fix. Okay, that stupid face recognition time clock. Everybody hates that thing. But anyway, because I'm deviating away from the topic here, we went to the office. We talked to Patty, and I told her the problem with the time clock, that it didn't get Justin, and she said she'd take care of it. Her tones were different than usual. Not aggressive, but I could tell something was up. Probably wasn't just a few seconds later, Toby, or Kobe, depending on who you talk to, okay, directed us to the back where Ronnie was there. And he said, boys, he said, I have some bad news for you. He said, Tartar decided to let you go, or corporate decided to let you go. Well, you can imagine we were in shock. We would never expected that in a million years, really. I was really shocked, anyway. I think Justin was more hurt by the concept of everything, but I was really shocked. Ronnie knew my situation. Toby, or Kobe, he was aware of my situation. Everybody around there was aware of my situation. And they knowed they wasn't carrying us. When we came back, after being sick, or at least me being sick anyway, I was always gung-ho to get everything done. I was bound, damned, and determined to get things done. And I always did. Like I said, they can say many things about me. The tardy, the absentees. I can't deny some of it. I was. But I think I've had a pretty damn good excuse. I really do. There might be those that would disagree. And I know the truth. And I just feel like, sincerely, I was screwed over. I've pretty well addressed everything that I wanted to in this video. I'm going to go ahead and end it. And I'm hoping that whoever potentially sees this video realizes that I wasn't one of those typical employees that just expected to do the bare minimum, to be carried by everybody else, and get basically a free paycheck. And the people that know me, as well as my son, know that to be the truth. So I'm hoping and praying that they'll see the video evidence, that they'll see this video, and realize that I'm not trying to manipulate anybody. I'm not trying to be conniving or evil. I simply, to God, just want to have my unemployment that I've worked for. Think about it. 2 years at $11.50 an hour. And you're really going to deny me that? After everything that I've been through. Everything. And everything that I've delivered to your company, helping you along the way. I hope you'll think about that. I really do. Because I really don't want to give these videos to anybody. I just want you guys to step up and do the right thing. And give my son and me both our unemployment. I guarantee you it'll be a lot cheaper in the long run. I really do. Because I swear I will go to the EPA. I will go to OSHA. And I will go to every single social media platform I can, as well as LEX18 News. And I will submit these videos to them. So I would bear that in mind. I'm not trying to extort nobody. I'm not trying to blackmail them. I'm just simply telling you. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that you'll do the right thing. I appreciate the time.